Alright guys, we're going to talk about standard notation versus scientific notation. Here's an example of each. So this is standard notation. This is what we typically see numbers listed at. The standard way of writing numbers. This is scientific notation. So we've changed this number into this. Now scientific notation is used when we have really, really large numbers or really, really small numbers. You see mostly in science, or if we want to measure the distance from the Earth to the Moon, or we want to find out how many people are living on the Earth's surface, we might write that number in scientific notation. I'm going to walk you through how to do it, how to change from standard to scientific, and then I'll also go backwards from scientific to standard with a couple examples. First step on how to do it. We want to move the decimal as many places needed to the left until we have a number between 1 and 10. So you see this number here in scientific notation, 3.8, is a number between 1 and 10. So this number in scientific notation must be a number that is between 1 and 10 in order for it to be in proper scientific notation. So we have 38 million. So you've seen I've taken the decimal. So if there's no decimal in the number, we have to assume it's at the end of the number. And I've moved it. Continue to move it. See, 38 is not between 1 and 10. So I have to keep moving that decimal until I get to a number that's between 3 and 8. I mean, between 1 and 10. So here, our number would be 3.8. If I move it one more time, then that number would be 0.38. And 0.38 is not between 1 and 10. So I have to stop moving the decimal when I get to a number between 1 and 10. Second step. Once I have that number between 1 and 10, now I must multiply that number I got by a power of 10. 10 to the nth power. First, second, third, fourth, so on and so on and so on. You'll know which power based on how many places we moved the decimal. So again, let's look at that same number, 38 million. So I would rewrite it as 3.8 times 10 to the what power? I have to look. I moved the decimal how many places? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we moved the decimal place 7 times to get to a number between 1 and 10, which was 3.8. So we have 3.8 times 10 to the 7th power. Okay. Let's practice a couple more. So I have 142,000. Remember, first step is to move the decimal until I have a number between 1 and 10. See, 142 is not between 1 and 10. 14.2 is not between 1 and 10. There we go. 1.42, that is between 1 and 10, correct? Alright, so I know I have the right number. Now I'm going to multiply it by a power of 10. So times 10, and I need to count how many places did I move the decimal. Moved it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this would be 1.42 times 10 to the 5th power. So I get the second example. 9,874,000,000. Again, move the decimal. 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9.8. Is 9.8 between 1 and 10? Yes, I get the right number. Now I need to multiply it by a power of 10. So again, let's count our decimals. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I've moved that 9 places. So 10 to the 9th power. Alright, so I've shown you how to get from standard notation to scientific notation. Now let's look at how to get from scientific to standard. So from scientific to standard, so this is scientific notation. How do I write it in standard notation? Let's walk through the steps. Instead of moving the decimal left, we now have to move the decimal back to the right. How many times do I move the decimal? That depends on what the exponent is in your power of 10. Whatever the exponent is, that's how many times you're going to move it. So 10 to the 7th power. How many times would we move the decimal to the right? Very good. Correct. You would move it 7 times to the right because 7 is what we've is how many places we moved it originally, so we want to move it back 7 places. So let's look at examples. We have 1.43 times 10 to the 4th. So I'm going to be moving my decimal 4 places. So I have my number 1.43. Here's my decimal. I'm moving it to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, what do I put in these blank spaces? We're going to add zeros into those blank spaces. And then my comma, I got from the right, count spaces, 1, 2, 3 spaces over. So this is going to be equivalent to 14,300. So 1.43 times 10 to the 4th is 14,300. Very good. Let's do this last one. So we have 6 times 10 to the 9th power. We're going to be moving it 9 times. So 6. Here's my decimal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm going to be adding 9 zeros here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And now I'm going to add my commas in. So I'm going to have, my commas going to go here, here, and here. So this 6 times 10 to the 9th in standard notation would be 6 billion. Alright, there you have it, guys. That's how we convert from scientific notation to standard and from standard to scientific. Remember, you need to start by moving the decimal place. I want to make sure that number is between 1 and 10 as I move that decimal left. And then when I'm going from scientific to standard, I'm moving it back to the right because that's where it came from. If you have any questions, let me know.